countries. It's precarious. It's also not stable because it can be fired at a time, it can move, and it is very, very exploitative. I won't go into details into that. There will be a whole workshop this afternoon talking about the exploitation of migrant workers, and I think we all know more or less thanks to her publicity. Yeah? And there is also the vested interest of both sending and destination countries to actually keep this going. So it's very, very difficult to break the cycle. The sending countries get back a lot of remittance, a lot of the wages that are sent back home, and that all comes into the economy. That's all counted, and that is something that's within the national budgets, how much remittance they're going to get back from foreign workers. So they want to keep this going. They're not that much interested in trying to better the situation, to get more rights, to guarantee more rights, because that would mean maybe that some husbands will be closed. And destination countries, of course, gain also from it, but they, of course, want it under their control, very much so. There's not any, it's very, very difficult there also to get a foot. Although in Hong Kong, you can say, that at least migrant work is under the labor ordinance, but we all know how much that is being violated. It's not, and also how much impunity there is, that not everything is being investigated and prosecuted. And then again, I say that is the growth of this industry, which is going to go on for quite some time. And then globally, there is a more restrictive trend, and here I refer to actually, the destination countries refusing to acknowledge the need for migrant workers. There is a demand, they allow migrant workers in, they even allow them in undocumented. They know it's happening, it cannot be otherwise. When we think of the high numbers, in the statistics which are undocumented, sometimes even double, we bring the number of workers to double what is registered. It's impossible to think that they don't know. So there is a lot of collusion. There's a lot of collusion to keep this going on. And so every now and then there will be, a kind of a setting back, deportation of migrant workers because they just don't want to acknowledge. We need so many workers. These would be their rights. Right? These would be how we can work together. And channels for legal labor migrations are closing. That's very sure. That's very common. And also there is a xenophobia, say in many of the destination countries, racism, the fear of the unknown, fear of the foreigners, fear of, and the fear for, this whole war on terrorism has also brought this fear. So the result is no regulations, no protections, no rights for migrant workers, and these are conducive conditions for what we call the trafficking practices, which I won't go into now, but that's another issue altogether. Then when we talk about women's strategies, this is where we should come, yes. There are different kinds, and I just put down very generally, actually very generic categories of what kinds of strategies have been undertaken, have been formulated. I remember when the WTO was happening here, 2005, right? 2005, and we had all the preparation meetings, and there was one meeting of women, talking about women and globalization, and there was really a kind of, I was amazed that there was disinterest. I mean, a kind of, what has it got to do with us? It was like, especially from the women from Hong Kong, there are a few who have been working on labor issues, and also taken up except for the migrant workers and the networks. The women's movement had not been really very much involved in thinking about these processes and thinking about what we can do about it. But there are, it's not to say that there are not in other places. There is a real effort in many places to understand and to analyze how these inequalities are created, how they're being maintained by the global economic system, and how democracy is being threatened, and also women's rights in particular. trying to develop alternative approaches. It's very, very difficult. But on a small scale level, on community levels, women getting together to, in a way, to actually address the immediate needs that are because of all these abuses and cuts to the economy. To train others, to learn from each other. And I just put down here that the International Gender and Trade Network is one of these international networks that does this kind of thing and does trainings for groups who want to do this. And GERA is the Gender Economic Reform in Africa. Also in Africa, there has been a program that is trying to do this, to address and to gather information, to document how this, seemingly big international policies, agreements, how they really settle down and affect, how the effects come down to women at community levels, at ground levels, so that we can work out that way again to see how to address them. Then, of course, there is a lot of organizing and mobilizing by migrant workers and of the network to support migrant workers for the recognition of work, migrant work as work, and mainly it's domestic work which is not being recognized. To work to advocate for better working conditions, for social securities, and people sometimes talk about safe migration. It's not very clear what that really means. Safe, in what way? Safe from whom? Migration. But there is a term that is now being used also, especially within the anti-trafficking movements, that we want to ensure safe migration for women. When I talk about organizing the unorganizable, it's difficult. It's difficult to organize groups of women, workers in the sex industries and in the informal work situations, where they are not in one workplace, but they are spread out, and where work changes. So that's all difficult, but so that's where I stop, and I hope you have comments or corrections to my presentation and additions and ideas of how we would like to address this.